I'm an early bird.
So good morning, everyone. This is our Ohio Writers Guild call. And so today we're talking with Anne Goldberg, and she has written the most interesting book, and it's called Take This Phone and Shove It. It's a frustrated senior's guide to smartphones. And we were just saying how important this book is, but we're going to talk to her about her writing process and then also about the message in the book. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Kathy Binner. I'm a passive income mentor. I'm all about freestyle living. And so I've always wanted to be a writer, and it took me a long time. Yeah, a lot of years. Now, I wrote often throughout those years, but I never decided to get published until recently. And we're going to talk to Sandy a little bit. Sandy is my co-host, my co-mod, and she is already published and has been for some time. And Anne, of course, is a published author. And Anne, is this your first book or is this several for
No,
you?
this is the first.
This is your first one. Okay. Okay. So I'm excited to hear about the writing process. Now, a lot of our listeners are brand new writers, maybe haven't been published yet. We have experience all over the map. Some have been and some have not been. But we get a lot of newbies that tap into these calls, and they're trying to figure out how they too can write and how they too can get published. So I do have an academy. It's under kathybinner.com. I am going to just type that in the chat, just kathybinner.com. If you go to kathybinner.com and scroll down, you will see that there is a course. It's kind of a high level overview, from a bird's eye view of the writing process. But we do have all kinds of help if you have more questions and you want to get involved in all the different aspects of getting published. Also, Sandy, and I'm going to let her talk about it for a little bit. She has a writer's workshop every year, and we took several of our folks to her workshop this past year, and they're now getting published. So I'm excited. And so anyway, that's what I have is the Academy. Where we want to connect you with all the right folks. And I'm going to let Sandy tell you a little bit about her writer's workshop. I do believe ticket sales open again in January. Am I correct, Sandy? Over to you.
Okay, hi and welcome. It's a beautiful day in my area. I hope it is in yours as well. And this will be coming up in next year, my 8th year doing this,
Wow.
my 5th year at the Mills Park Hotel in Yellow Springs. And it is a structure of a type of writer's weekend that is gaining speed around the area. I just came back from Berea, Kentucky, and I thought, boy, their structure looks a lot like mine, and I've been around longer. But it's the idea of let's get the writers in the same room, let them stay there rather than break off on all these optional sessions at different times. And let me find the type of writers, professional writers, published writers, experts in the field, and have them be able to communicate to the writers in the room. And I only have about 2, maybe 3. So they're working the whole weekend. And why I have that is because if you listen to somebody's session on Friday and the question you have comes to you on Saturday afternoon, that person is probably still in the room whom you can ask. And that connection, finding those experts, I call them my featured guests, who are in a position who don't mind sharing all their tricks, sharing all their experiences, and so forth. I think we had a very, very fantastic weekend, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, just recently in Yellow Springs. I'm looking forward to that August 7th, 8th, and 9th in Yellow Springs. I'm starting off with a gentleman named Tim Wagoner. He has so much experience, and he's a creative writing professor. And that also gives him the chops to know how to talk to people at whatever their writing stage, no matter if they're all in the same room at the same time, no matter if they're writing nonfiction, memoir, science fiction. He also does movie tie-ins. He gets hired by movies like, say, He's also known as a pretty fierce horror writer. I don't read his horror stuff as much as I read his mystery stuff. But like Scream was the name of a horror movie. They contacted him and said, "Tim, would you write a book about the movie?" So now it's called Movie Tie-ins. And he recently came back from the Mecca for science fiction fantasy horror writers, Comic-Con in San Diego, where he won an award and he got to sit on a panel and so forth. So between now and January 1st, I'll be tapping in with him. We do a couple of Zoom calls and I'll be building who would work well with him? Who might he recommend? I've got some ideas. And now
Mhm.
that I've had my, in a sense, my summer is over, it's time to buckle down and get ready for the next one. So stay tuned here, of course. Kathy is always wonderful about asking me to talk a little bit about it. So you'll get that step-by-step progress as we go along.
Oh, Sandy, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much being on. I am actually clicking through to make you my co-host here before we go any further, just in case I get bumped off the call, which happens sometimes on these Zoom calls. So I really appreciate you being here and being my co-host. And I did go to her writer's workshop. It was amazing and awesome, and I learned so much. I have my notebook right here next to me. I'm still going through some notes. I'm building out those characters like I was taught to do at her workshop. So,
Oh,
Sandy, thank you so much for
wow.
all of that. I want to now talk with Anne. Anne, I am so excited to have you on. I met you through Wendy and Patricia, and every time I listened to you talk, I was like, oh, she is so amazing, and I just have to have her on the podcast. She has spent over a decade teaching seniors how to use their phones, both iPhones and Androids. And you've taken that classroom experience and turned it into a clear step-by-step guide for anyone who feels overwhelmed by technology. And we were just having that conversation. Anne is passionate about helping people overcome fear, build confidence, and stay connected in today's digital world. And today we'll talk about her journey as a writer, her process, and of course, the book. So I want to start with talking about a writing process because a lot of our audience is they're wannabe authors. They want to get published, and again, they want to write. And I don't know how many people I talk to, and they go, "Someday I want to write a book. Someday," And the percentages of folks that actually write the book is so few compared to the folks that say that someday they want to write a book. So, and with your busy schedule, teaching, working with seniors, when did you find time to actually sit down and write your book? How did you fit that in just in a calendar sense? Do you have a favorite? Like, do you write in the mornings? Do you write at night after everybody else is in bed? What is your secret on how you actually had the time to write the book?
I think for me, my process was a little bit different from many authors because I was compelled to write. And the backstory is about, I would say, sometime in early 2024, I started thinking the words in my head, write the book.
Okay, okay,
And I heard it and I said, okay, I know I have to write a book, but I'm not sure what the book is. I don't know my point of view. I know it's about smartphones, but I didn't have, I wasn't grounded in my message. And then my husband and I watched a free webinar from a book coach who said,
okay,
get a great title. If your book has a great title, then you are ahead of the crowd. Even if your book's not that good, a great title
okay.
will get attention. Okay, I put that somewhere in there. And then a few weeks later, I was talking with a friend of mine, talking about seniors and phones. And I said, yeah, they just want to take the phone and shove it. And I went, oh my God, that's my title.
You're like,
From,
that's the title.
from that moment, I could not write. I had to write. All of a sudden, I understood the humor, the point of view. I'm aging myself. What does this mean to me? I hate it just like everybody else hates it. I just know how to use it. And all of a sudden, I was off and running. And when did I write? I would wake up in the morning and be compelled to sit down, and then my brain would get. I would stop and be, oh, I'm out of steam. So I would go for a walk or I'd go to
Okay.
the pool. I live in Florida. I would go to the pool and swim. And in those quiet moments, all of a sudden, some inspiration would come. Oh, yeah,
Good.
that's the chapter. Oh, right, that's what. And I'd get out of the pool quickly or run home and sit down again. And boom, I was off and running. And that was pretty much how it went for me. In fact,
Okay.
I was so compelled to write that I gave up clients. I didn't want
Oh
to,
my.
I wanted to write. And I couldn't
Wow.
go back to teaching as much as I had been until those words were out on the paper. And then it was like a great exhale. Okay. And then of course going back over it, refining it, making it better.
Yes, yes.
That's a
But when you start canceling other things in order to have time to write, that's when you know you're a writer.
Yeah.
That's when you know you are a writer. And you're definitely a writer. So so good for you. Now, many new authors, they struggle with the research. How much research went into your book before you started writing it, and what did that look like for you? Because as it's one thing on kind of knowing how to do something, but then, and again, your background's a teacher, I get that. um, but then to make it clear in written word sometimes takes some research on exactly how you're going to put that down on paper. How much research went into your book?
12 years of teaching.
12 years of teaching.
My research was boots on the ground, working with seniors, talking to them, observing what stops them, observing how they would look at something and just be stymied by it. And I have my gift is not so much that I know technology, but I know how to teach it. I
Yeah.
know how to explain it to a person of a certain age for whom this whole thing is just confusing. I can bring it to a metaphor that has them understand what's going on. So in my research, that was my years of teaching. And that's why it was write the book, write the book. You've got this, you know this. And of course, I subscribe to all kinds of newsletters and tech and senior tech information, just
Okay.
trying to stay on the leading edge of what's going on in technology for seniors and to a certain extent, technology overall. So it's staying up to date on what's going on, but never, most importantly, never losing the understanding of
Mhm.
what a senior needs in order to understand.
That is so important, is to know your audience and how you can connect with the audience. So again, for those of you that are going to write nonfiction and you are going to put something in a book, put it down on paper. Sometimes I think you have to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit. Who is the audience that I'm writing to or that I'm writing for? And make sure that you're writing in a voice that they understand.
That's
Nice.
absolutely right on. I think you have to know your message. What's your end goal?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you want to leave the reader with as they're going through your book or they put it down? And for me, it was empowerment and understanding, those two things. Because what I've learned is that most seniors over the age of 70, let's say, just arbitrarily, are so confused and afraid that they're going to do something wrong and break
Mm-hmm.
their phone or their computer. And that's just not so easy to do. And even more than that, so many seniors feel that, what do I need this for? You know, this is not important. I've gotten along just fine without it all these years.
Uh-huh.
I am here to say you do need this for a lot of reasons. But most importantly, what we're learning is that when seniors use technology on a daily basis, smartphone, computer, tablet, doesn't really matter, but engaged in it, they have a 58% less likely opportunity to get dementia. And think about that.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yes, that's a meta study of more than 400,000 seniors. And in fact, the study authors went in trying to prove that it would create digital dementia in seniors, but it doesn't. It's the opposite. It stimulates our brain because we have to learn so much. Every decision, even turning on the phone, is something to remember. And so if I can help seniors get greater cognitive skills and at the same time stay connected with people that they love and have entertainment and enjoyment from that device, oh my God, that's perfection for me.
Well, and even in addition to that, technology in just our financial community is changing so much that you almost have to be a little bit tech savvy to even do your banking these days.
That's right. That's,
Yeah.
depending on the bank you use, you know, the larger banks, you know, Chase, Bank of America, et cetera, Citibank, they're large enough and they still can cater to older people and they have customer service and you can call. But these online banks that often offer greater interest rates and flexibility are basically not available to most seniors because
Correct.
it's scary. So
It is scary.
the life is changing in a way, and I don't want my peers to be left behind. There's If fear is the thing that stops you, I'm here to say, let's do it together. You know, there's a way to get around it.
I love that. And I love your message. Did you ever hit a writer's block along the way? How did you push through that to keep writing?
Sure. I would stop, walk away from my computer, and do something else. Just not even think about it. Often, as I said before, I'd either go for a walk or a swim, and that would just relax me and sort of open up those channels so that information could sort of percolate through me. Or sometimes I would just say, you know what, you're done for a little while, let it rest. And I would go and do whatever it was that I needed to do. Maybe it was teach a class or prepare for one of the few classes that I still kept. And then after a little break, something would inspire me, or I would just get, okay, I'm ready to tackle this again. Because so much of the book was so deeply technical with pictures and step by step that it was brain twisting to even write it. So there were times I just had to walk away. I don't see it
Yes.
clearly anymore. Just take a break. And then with a clear head, I was able to go back to it. But I think what I really want to say to any writer out there is that we get inspired. We just don't always realize that we are. A thought that comes into the head, just like write the book, write the book. If I had ignored that, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. But I didn't ignore it. I was just like, I know, but I'm just not sure of my approach. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. But that all came to me just as time went on. And I
Yes.
was able to sit down and make it happen.
I love that, which just is a perfect segue into to my next question. So for you, what was harder? Was it getting the words on the page or organizing all of your teaching into a book format?
Yeah, that one.
That one. Okay.
This is a hard book to write because it's basically 30% storytelling and 70% textbook. It's
Okay.
a book on smartphones for seniors, Android and iPhone. And so when you're writing a textbook, you can't leave out a little step. And if it's something I know how to do, I would do it so fast and then read it back and go, wait a minute, you left out 3 steps there. So it's about just taking the time, listening to myself, and making sure that at any moment in time, if I felt overwhelmed, I turned off the computer and I walked away. I didn't push through it. I allowed for the process to happen.
Okay.
I hope that
Okay.
answers
Well,
your question.
now that the book is published, what advice would you give to someone listening who is writing their very first book?
Love it.
Love it.
It's the most important thing, I think.
You know, how interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I'll share something funny. There's a podcast I listen to. Sometimes it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she speaks to older women. It's called Wiser Than Me. It's a fabulous podcast. And she interviewed, oh my God, I'm going to not remember her name, the author Fran Lebowitz. Fran Lebowitz, really famous for her writing, but she hasn't written in decades. And in this interview, she was asked, and she goes, I hate writing. I hate it. I just hate it. I don't like to do it.
As she sounds.
Then in another segment, she interviewed Anne Lamott, who is a marvelous spiritually aware woman. She's incredible. And she talked about how she loved to sit and write, and the words would flow from her because she loved it. And that contrast was so fascinating to me, because if you're not loving it, that's a problem. And that's going to come across in the energy behind the book. So I would say you have to just really love it. And if you have an idea, play with it. And the first iteration may not be. I rewrote the opening chapter twice, over a period of 7 months, because I read it. It was great. And then I read it again. I went, no, that's not what I want. And that's okay. Just love it and be very connected with your end goal. What's the message? Who am I talking to? Those are the most important things, I think, that anybody who's preparing information for somebody else has to keep in mind.
So powerful. And that advice is very powerful. Now, we're going to talk about the book a little bit. It covers both iPhones and Androids. How did you make sure it was easy for readers of either type of phone to follow along? I have an Android. I've been an Android girl forever. Mark has an iPhone. I sometimes am like, I don't even know how to answer this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How in the world could you combine those two, because the operating systems are so different?
Well, they're actually not all that different. And the analogy I like to use there is cars. You have internal combustion engines, and now we have electric engines. So the internal workings are very, very different between the two devices. But in both cases, you open a door, you sit down, there's a steering wheel, you turn the power on, and you steer and you drive, and there's brakes and there's gas. And so they are very much the same, but their dashboards look different, right? How you see the information on an Android looks different from an iPhone. How you see a Tesla dashboard is very different from a General Motors internal combustion car, but they both do the same thing. So it's just about learning and becoming used to the device you have. But typically the answers are always on the page. And that's what I teach seniors about. And how did I organize it? Several different times. and eventually I landed on separating out a lot of the iPhone, so that information was together, and a lot of the Android instructions, so that information is together. But then there's a whole world where it's similar. So some areas where I'm talking to both an Android and iPhone user, text messaging and the benefits are the same regardless of the device. But how you actually get to that text message and do funny, wonderful little emoji things with it might be slightly different because the dashboard is different.
Okay.
And that's how I try to explain it. And that's how I organize the book. So people with either device can look up, and there are reference points. There's no table of contents. No index, because that would have been 40 pages. The book is 400 pages long.
Okay.
So each chapter has headings so people can find things easily. The book, each chapter has a different color border, so that when you're looking at the book, if you know that chapter 10 is the one you want to look for how to do your email, you can look for the purple, open it up, and you're right in chapter 10. So we've tried to make it so that it's an easy reference book, so that you and your husband, if you're sitting there and he's having a problem on his iPhone and you don't know how to do it, or vice versa, the book will answer them both.
Interesting. You mentioned that fear is often the biggest obstacle. How do you help your readers move past that fear and start to feel confident using their phones?
Repetition. I like to explain to them, go back in your life. If you wanted to learn an instrument, did you know it the second time you picked it up? No, you didn't know how to play it. Did you know the cha-cha the second time you went to dance, or the merengue or whatever? No, you did not. You had to practice. Kids in elementary school practice multiplication tables for 4 years. right? Like third, fourth, fifth, or second, third, fourth, fifth, even sometimes sixth grade, they're practicing. So the brain learns through repetition. And that's the way to get them comfortable, to show them, look, it's not that hard. Just read it. I mean, I'll share with you one of the funniest obstacles. It seems that a person over the age of 70, when they look at a smartphone screen and they've done something, maybe they've created a contact. Now they put all the information in, now they're stymied. I don't know what to do. So I invite them to read the screen from top left and keep going. And then on the right side, there's this word done, which they pass right over and they go, I don't know what to do. I say, okay, can we look at the screen and you see that word? What is done? Just look at that. What does that word mean? You know, what does it mean in English? Well, done means finished. I say, are you finished with what you're doing? Yes. So tap done. And they go, oh, I never understood that. So it is this incredible ability to forget English when they're looking at a smartphone. The words just don't seem to mean the same thing, but they do. So once I can get them past some of those obstacles, and the biggest thing is the language of the smartphone. So for instance, I have my phone, and if I want to do something, I have to swipe up. If I want to encourage, for instance, if I want to tap, let's see if you can see it. If I want to tap to open an app, okay, great. Swipe up to go away. But if I tap and hold, something else happened. You can see this little box opened. So there's a tap, and then there's a tap and hold. Whoops, let me get my finger on there, which is a fraction of a second longer, but it's a different gesture. So once seniors can learn to interact, they learn the language of the smartphone, which is gesture. Suddenly it opens up a whole floodgate of, oh, wait a minute, I can do that. I know now if I press too long and something unexpected happened, that was a gesture and I can do it again. So that's it. It's about repetition. It's about understanding that unless you throw your phone against a wall, you know, or leave it in a hot car, you know, or go swimming with it for 45 minutes, you're not going to really break your phone. Or tap on a blue underlined link from somebody you don't know. You can lose your phone that way. But otherwise, yeah, nothing you do, nothing you play with is going to ruin your phone. And that's a big lesson for them also, to help them with
that overcomes that fear that they're going to mess something up. Yeah, I get it. Now, one of the sections includes accessibility settings. What's the one simple change that a reader can make on their phone that makes a huge difference right away?
The size of the font, the size and boldness of the font. For so many of us, once we get, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s, our vision is not the same. And these phones are prepared for 14-year-olds. They're not for us. They're not designed for us. They are not put together with our needs in mind. It's all about the younger generations. So when you get the phone, the font is teeny tiny. And once you get that big, I can't tell you how delighted I get when I see, I change and I make the font larger and bolder and they go, oh, I can see it. I think that's the single biggest change you can make on the phone for a senior to start.
Interesting.
And then the next is getting rid of apps that they will never use. Never, never, ever. Fewer apps.
Because that gets so confusing. Yeah.
Fewer apps.
Yep, I get that. Now, several readers have said your step-by-step visuals were game changers. And can you share one example of a quick win from your book that surprised people?
Yeah. And some veteran users on an iPhone. If you want to get to all your apps, not all your apps actually, if you want to get to the control panel where you can quickly see volume and brightness and the flashlight and other quick settings, on an iPhone, what you have to do, let me see if we can do this, is just pull down and the screen changes. And right now, this is my quick settings. swipe up, and I can pull down. It's hard to do when I'm not looking at it.
Yeah.
Here we are. In an Android, it's just the opposite. Instead of pulling down from a corner, in an Android, you swipe up. And by swiping up, not on an iPhone, but an Android, you see this whole other amount of information that you can work on. Or you can pull down, depends on the Android. So let me just make a statement about Androids and iPhones. iPhones are only made by Apple. There's nobody else who programs them, who designs software for them, who gets into the internal architecture of the phone other than Apple. It's a closed source system. Androids, on the other hand, are what we call an open source system. So you have Androids by at least 10 different manufacturers around the world. And every manufacturer, just like every car manufacturer, has a different dashboard. It looks a little different. So when I'm working with somebody with Androids or a classroom of Androids, there is no one lesson that applies to them all, because every phone, one might be a pull down, one might be a pull up, one might be 2 fingers or 1 finger or 3 fingers. In this, they're all a little bit different. And it's just learning what that device, what those commands are. So it does become a little more complicated for Androids, but again, it's a dashboard issue. And once you learn the dashboard, you can figure out how to do it.
This has been very interesting. I've learned stuff, and I've been working with my phone for years. And now, beyond the book, you also offer workshops, videos. How do these tie together, and what is the next step for someone who finishes your book?
Well, I want to address finishing the book. It's not a book you necessarily finish.
Okay.
The story part of it, yes, but the teaching part, the textbook part, my goal is that this book be kept on the coffee table or
Okay.
nearby, so that when you're sitting and working on your phone, you go, I don't know how to do this with my email. You can open up to the chapter with the email, you can find your iPhone, Android, and there it is, step by step, how you're going to either write an email or attach a picture to it or whatever it, or send to more than one person. All of these different steps are in the book, because doing it just once, you're not going to remember. Doing it twice, you're not going to remember. Doing it 5, 6, 10 times, now you're on a track to form a new memory and actually do it. So there is no really finishing the book. And my advice to anybody is pick a lesson and learn that lesson. Work on that all week. Then pick another lesson, learn that lesson. That's how you will really advance through and learn how to use the phone. But to not be overwhelmed by, I have to learn it all at once. That doesn't make any sense. Just learn what you need, get comfortable with that, and then you can explore and learn more. Now, as you're working with the book, there are other questions that come up, because I don't have that crystal ball, and people do have other questions. So that's why I'm going to have online classes, not calling them webinars, because a senior doesn't relate to that. But a senior understands what an online class is. So I will have those. And I also have a membership site on my website. So you can be a $5 a month member or $50 a year member. And when you're a member, you get to take certain online classes for free. If you're not a member, there'll be a small charge for each class, because I want to make this very accessible. I don't want price to stop anybody from learning. And when you're a member, you also have access to longer tutorials. There are a number of free videos on the website, but they're short. They just cover the important parts, and anybody can see those videos. Just go to the website, takethisphonenandshove.com, and go to video lessons, and you can see what's there. And if you want more, become a member, and then you get more detailed information. And I will have options for people to do lessons with me privately online, or small groups, and different ways for us to access each other.
I love that. I put your link, takethisphonenandshove.com, in the chat for everyone, and I will include it also in the replay of this video. Sandy, did you have any questions or comments for Anne? This has been a very interesting conversation.
And I think it's so brilliant. There are a lot of devices for the kitchen, for anywhere that you can buy that no longer have an instruction manual. Go to the website, go to here, go to this, that, and the other. And there are just some times where that just doesn't cut it. I want it right here physical. I want to open my drawer and see it. I want it sitting on the coffee table. And I think your title is great, perfect. Everybody,
Mhm.
no matter their age, has said something like that once, at least once, and with a little more colorful language once in a while. But that's the
That
intent.
was
And
me.
yours is user-friendly language. Anyway, I'm thinking, to have it there, sitting there visually, and I'm anxious to get a copy and look and see how it looks and be able to call it my best friend for the next. And like Kathy, I've had my iPhone for a long time. I was just hearing about iPhone 17 coming out. I'm iPhone 11, but still, I'm hoping it would talk to all those. I think the basic things are right. So I think you were brilliant to come up with that. Just brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I love it.
And the book will be available on September 30th.
Oh, good.
Today's is 22 days from now. The
Yeah.
book will be available on Amazon.
Oh, good. Now,
Uh,
are you on Facebook?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just
Oh,
look for
good.
Take This Phone and Shove It, and you will
Okay.
find pages.
Good for you. Well, brilliant. Brilliant.
so for all of our listeners, tap in on September 30th, get a copy because that will help drive this particular publication to #1 status, and then leave a review. And that is so important for Anne, so that her book actually gets discovered. So definitely mark your calendars for September 30th to purchase a copy and leave a review for Anne. I want to go over to Linda. Linda, do you have any comments or questions for Anne today? And tell us a little bit about you, Linda. She might be multitasking. There she is.
Just the joy of finding the volume button on a phone. It takes a few steps to go from hibernation to able to talk. Well, Anne, thank you so much for all that you shared today. What you're doing is so valuable. I do things that serve people of a certain age, and in a different lane, I teach a lot of people about how to use technology. Mine is more marketing oriented, but what you're doing is so valuable. And thank you for the way that you broke it down in such a consumable way that really anyone can understand. And your study that you shared about, I think it was 58% less likely to experience cognitive decline, or however that was worded. That was a real eye opener. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I agree.
I read that statistic myself. I was blown away. And so were the researchers, everybody involved in the study, because nobody expected that outcome. And it is just the single most important thing, other than learning a new language,
Mm-hmm.
every day, every day. Because remember, when you work with the phone, you're looking at it all the time, whether it's an email or if you're using the calendar. For me, I would never be anywhere ever if I didn't have my calendar on my phone, and I would double book or triple book myself all the time, because who remembers what I have on what date? So when my calendar is with me, it's a pleasure. My email, my texting, whatever it is that keeps me connected to my family. Facebook. I help my son. My son lives in Denver. I live in Fort Lauderdale or Boca Raton. And I helped him organize his kitchen on FaceTime. And that was just the greatest thing for both of us. So there are so many wonderful things that we can do that enhance our lives and that enhance our brains. And it's all because of this wonderful, no, miserable, no, wonderful device that we call smartphones.
I
Wow.
love it. And thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. For those that don't know, Anne is traveling and she is in a totally different time zone. So we moved our call up a little early today so that we could accommodate her today. And I appreciate you being on. Sandy, as always, thank you for being my co-host, my co-mod. And Linda, thank you for always being so supportive and being on every call that I do. I try to be on as many of Linda's as I possibly can as well to support her. And I just appreciate all of you so very much. Is there any last words or comments before we go today? Over to you, Anne.
Yes, absolutely. My mission, besides just generally the smartphones, is to help seniors know that all of us, we're old enough to have a past and young enough to have a future. So
Woo!
make that future fab by
Ah,
working our brains and working our bodies and doing all the things that make us live longer and happier.
good, good. That's a little Anne Lamott type philosophy. I like it.
I do too. Thank you so much for that. So with that, we are going to say goodbye for this time and we will see everyone next time. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, take care. Stay well.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.